Коллеги, добрый день. Еще раз напоминаю, что лекция на английском языке, поэтому кому нужны наушники, то в конце стола можно взять себе набор. Еще хотел поблагодарить Freedom Project Foundation за организацию, помощь и идейное вдохновление этого проекта, потому что на самом деле большая работа проделана потому, чтобы финских музеев собрать лучшие произведения, которые вы могли увидеть в коридоре, сопоставить их с российскими. И теперь пригласили мы Лееви, чтобы он нам вообще в принципе рассказал, куда финское искусство двинулось за последние 100 лет, пока мы за ним не наблюдали.
А я, может быть, прежде чем начнет профессор Хаапала говорить, я хотел сказать, что у нас здесь сегодня не только деятели искусств, у нас представители посольства Финляндии и вообще наши друзья из Финляндии, которых, наверное, нужно поздравить с тем, что наступивший 2017 год – это год столетия независимости Финляндии. И действительно, правильно сказал Михаил Дмитриевич, надо подвести итоги, что Финляндия сделала за это время. Поэтому мы с интересом ждем лекции профессора Хаапала. Пожалуйста.
For the invitation, Michael, it was great to give this presentation here with you at Rosmana, and also to the Dream Gallery and the embassy. Really great. Our museum starts collecting from the 1970s, so you will not hear the whole centennial story today. But we are still as a museum of contemporary art, but still we are collecting institution. I would like to open...
Excuse me, please. I'm sorry, по-моему, не представили докладчика. Мы забыли сказать, что выступающий перед нами не просто профессор, а еще и директор музея современного искусства. Я вот могу сказать, что я там оказался не так давно и под сильным впечатлением того, что там увидел. Поэтому тут перед нами и практик и одновременно деятель науки, так что просто понятно было, кто докладывает. Прошу прощения, пожалуйста, продолжайте.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, I started in the Museum of Contemporary Art 1.5 years ago, but I've been there since we inaugurated in different positions as curator and researcher and so on, and then was away a couple of years and doing my own research and other projects abroad, and also as a professor of curatorial studies at the Academy of Fine Arts and at University of Arts in Helsinki. This is our museum, for those who haven't yet visited there, and you can see it from the northern end here, and I really like to open my talk showing one of the very recent works that's been running literally around this year. It's a piece by Nestor Isuria, and it's called Running Man. And this Running Man is a performance. It's a dramatized image of contemporary humanity. And this guy, or he's an actor, is running once a month around city, in the city area. And if you have a closer look to he's very hurried and stressed businessman. You can see his skin is almost like too fragile to look closer, and he's very stressed about the economical and political crisis. So we were making a big competition around the museum and finding a permanent piece to our surroundings, and it was a worldwide big competition, and over almost 400 proposals we achieved. And it was commissioned together with the Finnish state collection. So this Running Man is now doing his performances. Sometimes we announce it in the social media, and then he goes around. Somebody sees it, somebody not. Only it is as a documentation. But I like to start with that so that you understand the meaning of contemporary art for us and contemporaneity. What it means to to be a contemporary person there in perspective of performance arts. We also have a theater in the museum. It's funny, we opened 18 years ago, and if you make a survey in Finland and ask which is the museum that you know, so 97% of the population, they tell us that they know KIASMA, and we are lucky about that. Also, we also make these surveys and asking about our visitors if they like to recommend us or the program and what they have seen. So quite many do that. I like to tell some facts about the museum. First, so we are part of the Finnish National Gallery, and that's together with our two sister museums. It's an Atheneum Art Museum. There in the lobby, you saw most of the pieces are from the Atheneum, our copies from of the Atheneum's collections. Some of those also from our museum's collections. And then Sinebrychoff Art Museum is old interior museum, and then you know it was a brewery family who made that happen in the 19th century, and now it's part of the National Gallery. Museum was built and designed by architect Stephen Hall, and it was also a huge competition around that time of the last economical crisis or depression in the mid-90s, and Finnish architects, they were not that happy that American architect won the competition. But still, we are quite happy nowadays with that. It was kind of a first, in a way, wow building in the city center. The name derives from the chiasm, or chiasm, and it means this intersection or particular crossing of optic nerves behind your eyes. And also when you see the, I can go back probably, so there is a cross section also in the middle of the building, so two building blocks making a cross and giving a kind of a very physical meaning to that. It's also a theoretical concept by Maurice Merleau-Ponty's philosophy. Still, that are the aims in our what we do. So to be accessible, active, participatory, and to stimulate discussion around art and topical issues. So we are very kind of our aims is to raise discussion, and it's been a lot of that, even in those short times that I've been running the institution. Last time it was about one specific work of art. It was a video piece by female artist Jenni Hiltunen, who made a very great video piece where he used a dancer who is wearing a gown by indigenous Sami people, and also very much about the costume of a Latin American dancer, and combining these different elements together. So the young Sami activists, they became very angry towards us, and how can the artist use in such a way the national costume. So we've been discussing about that and meeting the also the young city Sami activists and then telling all of that in a media many ways, that how to include and how to be also that the museum is also for them. And yeah, last year, the visitor number that we got was 320,000, and that's quite a lot. It was the early days when we started. We get a similar amount of visitors. If you think about the size of the city, it's 500,000. So there are many tourists during the summer months and also during the winter. We give kind of a giving back to the community. So there is one day per month, every Friday, and then we have a free entrance to the museum. And for example, last Friday, when that happened again, so there came more than 4,000 people per day to visit us. We are especially proud of the young audiences that we have. So 65% of the visitors are under 35 years old, and that is quite a nice figure to think about the usual or the average museum goers, and how to invite people and make that happen. For example, last fall we had a Brazilian artist, Ernesto Neto's big exhibition. So we found from the Facebook that they created their own groups, Facebook events there, and then let's go to the KIASMA and do something together. And more than 1,500 people, youngsters, came by one night. And we have nothing to do with that in that event, but of course welcoming them to participate. Of course, we are counting everything. So visitors, of course, but the web visitors also, and our followers in social media, and try to be active on those, and we definitely are. Instagram is now the most giving the best results, because of course the quality of the images works, and people like to share their experience. And nowadays it seems, I was reading the Helsingin Sanomat, the main magazine, this morning, and it was a description about other museum, Emma Museum, which is in Vantaa. So they are describing Insta moment in an exhibition, so that you need to create specific Insta moment in a museum from the works of art that interests you so much that you like to share it with your colleagues or your friends or your family. And because of course it's not possible to use, for example, to the marketing that much of money, so your visitors do it for you. There are some images inside the museum. This was just recently inside our collections. Two Danish artists, and this is one of the works. It's called Babylon, and you have different types of scents on those vases, and you can smell it and guess what is inside of that. And that's always. We've been showing this during these past 18 years, like 3 or 4 times. People keep asking when you're bringing this Babel work again. We like to see it. Some words about our collections and the meaning of that. So it is the most and largest collection of contemporary art in Finland, and we just decided with our sister museum. We used to start from the 1960s, but it's the same collection, Finnish National Gallery collections, but now we changed the timeline from 60s to the 70s. And because we like to be very contemporary. And of course, if we have, for example, we have more than 8,000 works, and for example, if we make a collection display annually, it can include only 100 works. So and also if we acquire annually 150 more, so there is also like a very minimum amount of works that we can show at once. Of course, we have our online thing, so you can see part of the collections as an images in the Finnish National Gallery's site and look them through that. But of course, it's not something that you can translate sculptures or huge installation and put it in one image. Since the beginning, we've been Finnish and international. This kind of nowadays it's funny how you can even think contemporary art without thinking that it's not global or international. They are kind of almost synonyms to each other. And of course, our special focus is by Finnish artists, but also artists from our neighbor countries. And it was first when museum started or inaugurated, it was the question was about the broadening circle. So taking the Nordic countries, Russia, Baltic countries, and going wider to the Europe and to the States and different parts of the world. And of course, we have a position between contemporary art and also the popular culture, ephemeral artworks, and their documentation. Ephemeral meaning like just this performance, which I started with. So what we have at the end is some video clips or description of the work. Also community art project, earth art, environmental art, and of course sometimes acquisition is purchasing concepts so that you can make them happen afterwards. And I will tell later about our new online art commission that will be launched now in end of February this year. That was the project I started with big international survey. Of course, it's always question that we ask from ourselves that the museum collection is always one way of telling our story as a nation, and what is the story that we want to tell with that. And like I mentioned, contemporary art is created and displayed in the context that is especially characterized by interaction between local and global culture. And that's the way where we can invite artists to our exhibitions and make their site-specific works for us, and then during the exhibition or during end of it, have time to consider is this work worth of thinking as a part of the collection. Of course, Finnish contemporary art has become very important part of international art scene with different biennales and topical museum exhibitions and art fairs. So, for example, next Venice Biennale, there will be really great group of two young artists, and it's called Erkka Nissinen and then British artist Nathaniel Mellars, and they do a project together. We are kind of a partner in that collaboration in the Alto Pavilion in Venice, in the Giardini. And then afterwards, in 2018, the show will travel with us, but we don't know exactly what they are doing. But that's the kind of a plan how to do that. Also, sometimes we participate to the art fairs. Of course, as curators, I travel many art fairs during the years, but also sometimes we give a kind of a flagship or some own booth and just telling about the museum. of course, it's the important part because we are part of the National Gallery and it's a bigger group of things. So all the museum workers, specialists like conservators, photographers, all that professional team is working for the whole big collection, and using this as an asset to develop all the databases, all the research, what is behind if you have a big art collection. And like I mentioned, we link the acquisitions through museum's exhibition profile. So there's a history living kind of behind us. So I will show some things from the recent acquisitions also to you. This was a special project by Mika Taanila. He's a filmmaker and documentarist, and so he followed over 15 years a nuclear plant in the western Finland, and have a permission to go there, and it was the slogan of that little city, the most electrified town in Finland, and he took that as a title for his documentary. So he's telling the whole construction process and also meeting different people living in the area, and also all the engineers and on that, but also just people living in the more small village, and combining these images together and not taking a stand on which side he is or what it is, but telling the kind of the whole story. And the project is still on a construction level. It's not finished yet. It's a famous big industrial investment. Then we have, for example, Jacob Dahlgren, the wonderful world of abstraction. So he turns the legacy of modernism and legacy of abstraction in this very playful color field. So you can really enter between these ribbons and probably meet somebody there, and you could imagine how funny this is with school kids. If you let in a class of school kids or like that, it's really funny. And also this is one of our kind of iconic classics in our museum. We have also a group of business people and politicians around us, and they started at the KIASMA Foundation like 2007, and they sometimes donate pieces to our collections and asking us what you would like to have and what is the meaning of it, and that's also one way to so that different types of people from different positions meet around us, and we can influence them, and they can give us very good advices and help us as a part of the community. So Eeva Ahtiala's Annunciation, this classical image type from the Renaissance art, is the big video installation also, and there were two foundations, and KIASMA Foundation, who required it to us. So Eeva Ahtila is one of the most famous Finnish artists that we have shown a retrospective at least twice, earlier part of her career, and now 3 years ago again. So it's been traveling in Tate Modern in London and Moderna Museet in Stockholm, and different places. And that was one of the works. Then I like to mention one specific collection inside our collections. That is called the Kouri collection, and it was collected by Dr. Pentti Kouri, and the Ministry of Education and Culture donated it to us. So he was a professor and economics and businessman living in New York. And one part of his career, he went into bankruptcy, and the huge part of the huge collection ended up to the one bank, and then to the state. So this was a big present from the ministry to us when we started, and the price or the value of the collection was never mentioned, but it was really great that our museum director then, Mrs. Tuula Arkion, and one of our chief curators could have possibility to select the collection. So it's not all, but very kind of museum quality pieces. So there's landmarks of American minimalism, land art, art pop art, new expressionism, Italian trans avant-garde. And these 55 works are also those works that goes as loans to many international shows. So that was in, I remember, I hope I have image out of, for example, this No Escape by Louis Bourgeois, that was in Garage just recently here from our collections. So we are very, very happy to have that here, and we have made a big exhibition to almost fill the whole museum with these works. There are pieces like Francisco Clemente's or Sigmar Falke's works in that, and really happy. Usually we show them next to Finnish artists to our other collection and make comparisons, make different contexts and narratives around what it is, and giving, in that sense, new meanings to the collection. There's one image of that artist, Karl Andres Weber's Run. Also very kind of an iconic, minimalistic sculpture. And what is the fun part? You can walk on top of that. And if you would know the value of the piece that you can walk on, it's kind of a very contradictional in that sense. There's a little extension to Jana to the Dream Gallery. Hopefully it will happen then. Some artists some younger artists I just selected from our collections. Hopefully we will see them here in, not especially these works, but some pieces by these artists. This is one of our recent paintings that we acquired from Petri Alamaunus, and it's quite wide. You see that was the reason I put the measurement, so it's over 5 meters wide. And it depends where you look at the painting, if you see the mountains or if you see the sea. And it's very kind of very beautiful in the space, and depends on also the daylight. Axel Lantas is also Finnish artist but educated in London, and we just on this week acquired three pieces by him. This is an older one, so it's artificial smoke, something very poetical pieces by him, and different natural phenomena that he creates, especially for these photographs. Anna Tori, one painter, and using very vivid and playful things, but then there is also every time some darker sides in her paintings, and you can when you read the title, so you can already see that. He's one of the already powerful Jarmo Mäkilä, older generation artist, mid generation and a little bit older than that, and his daughter is also a very good artist. So this reminds me of St. Petersburg School and New Academy. Yeah, definitely at the same time in the early 90s. Or this was a donation by a big one of our supporters, Tikkurila, the painting factory, or the company that was in the headquarters and shown there many times. Karikaven is playing with optics and different senses. So this ice cross, this is a kind of a room-size installation, and it depends on the where you stand. It kind of moves, and makes a beautiful effect. But then, I don't know, they moved to their location or did some renovation. So at that point, we get this piece as donated to us. Kaarina Kaikkonen is also very well known of her site-specific installations, and he has very much a kind of biographical data and dealing with his family things, and his past father in the images. It's made of men's shirts and jackets and every time, but very large ones, like a huge. Once worked with him in Madrid, and she did a 5-story high installation out of the collected shirts in Madrid. Leena Nio is one of the younger painters, using also the optics and very colorful, very kind of our senses of the distances and surfaces, but it is very flat when you see it here, but when you see it alive, there is lots of layers and textures and so on. Also Pekka Jylhä was, hopefully we will see something from him here in Moscow, because he makes amazing magical tricks and challenges our senses also. There are some references also to the business life here in Tuomas Laitinen, who is just before he kind of a mid-career time and made a great Wall Street. So there is this game with crosses and all of that, and it's musical, it's instrument, and it's a neon installation. I have some images more, but I like to proceed and show you about this new media art collections, which we are now about to launch, and have many images out of that as well. I mentioned about our collections and our recent acquisitions, and it's so that we have a board for acquisitions, and with our curators working in the museum, and mainly I need to make the decision from every purchase, but still we have also opened the acquisition board for the artists and different artist unions and different galleries. They send they propose at who might represent them, and then our director in the National Gallery decides if he asks us whom you like to have as an external member. So there are one or two members, different representing different mediums and techniques. So it's great to have them as a part of the team. We recently saw by young Finnish artist big exhibition. It was called School of Disobedience. And it was very, I really enjoyed the exhibition. Jani really made a school building, and he was the dean of the school himself. His alter ego is Ronald McDonald, but he's kind of a badly behaving one. Also, the School of Disobedience is about telling about the society and what's the role of being kind of a civil disobedience, so that you can make things happen in society. So he hired journalists and one woman priest and documentary makers, graffiti artists to give lectures to kids. So there are on the videos inside the school, and then like once a week he gave his own lectures, and now a beautiful panorama space, and there were like 100 or 200 school kids on those lectures every time, and it was very well received. He's using the, you can recognize probably from the back behind, all those kind of big brands, and appropriating them as his own works. There's Angry Bird image, and the School of Disobedience, the sign. You can see all the big companies that you might recognize. There is Marlboro or Lidl or companies from Finland and international, and just using as elements in his works. And of course, you could imagine if we, our conservators, they were not that lucky that we bought this house, thinking about the size of the storage rooms, and so that we need to have it all the time now. Now with us, of course, it traveled already to the Denmark. It was in Aros Museum, and he did an exhibition there. But it was really great among the teenagers, and how their parents and it was really great. One of my friend told me that she was asking about her teenager son, that would you mind coming with me to the KIASMA and see Jani Leinonen? So, I've been there already several times. So the kids, they are organizing themselves and finding the importance of what we are doing. So that's the best kind of feedback that you can get. Then we have had, I mentioned that there are some exhibitions and that we purchase and make things to our collections. So this is one of some very recognized artists, Kader Attia's piece. He made special African sculptures to us. It was part of our group, one big international group show. Kader Attia will be now this summer in Venice Biennale, in the main exhibition. I saw him on a list just announced on this week. Here is also a group of Saamen artists. This was a different that I mentioned earlier. So we just recently show a group of artists. They call themselves Shuopan Terror, and they make posters on those prejudices that that Sami people are facing in Finland, living in 5 different countries in the Arctic Sea. So it was important to us to also acquire this type of activist pieces. Then we can have a totally another type, Jani Russika, who made us a beautiful exhibition at the same time as we had Ernesto Neto's exhibition, and this was something. It was conversation in pieces. So these are all sculptures, but you are supposed to use them somehow. So there's this costume in front. So there was a dancer coming and being kind of dressed as a Neanderthal people, or that this big totem was built as an instrument. So it was a very beautiful wooden instrument. there were a lot of narrative stories and this kind of conversation pieces with lots of imagination. So it's impossible to start to even open the stories, but we decided to acquire the whole collection, and then there was a video link to that which shows how they were played. And this is about a Korean artist which made an exhibition, Che Chang-hwa, and somehow happy it was installation made out of plastic objects, and it was installed and made together with the volunteer people, with one group of school kids, with our friends association, and they built it for us, and artist was very, very happy about this event. Also, sometimes we can't afford to acquire pieces. For example, Ernesto Neto's huge exhibition, and but after all, he sent a video link to us when the exhibition was over, and he was telling that I like to give this boa, this bench, to the Finnish people and to your museum. And we are very, very lucky about that. So there are, so far as you can see, we have very many ways of acquiring pieces to the museum's collections. Of course, we use our modest acquisition budget, but then of course donations from the foundation, from the artist, from some art collectors who end up being part of the thing. But everything goes through the same procedure, so there is no like a kind of excuses. So we keep the same quality and standards for every purchases. This is a piece by Eggs. Eggs is a graffiti artist. This is something new, extension to his graffiti works, and it's called Fragile Identity, made out of glass, and it's his tag. Usually it's, of course, with a graffiti on a wall, but this time it's this sculpture. Also, Tommi Grönlund, Petteri Nisunen, they are artists that they right now have a big retrospective in Kunsthalle Helsinki, and using different natural phenomena and physics and to promote their works and make their what we see and in our surroundings, so make it visible through art. It's a kind of they are like a similar mode working like Olafur Eliasson or those artists, and it's very nice, this ice brick. So there is an ice cube inside of it, and then it's steel, and then it starts to make these formations. So there's a lot of maintenance in this work. You need to daily to put it on the fridge during the night, and then it starts to melt. Of course, there are some very pop type of things also. We have classical pop art also in the collection. Liechtenstein, huge canvas or painting, but then this is young Finnish artist Riikka Hyvönen, and she's using as a reference point this derby this game. Derby rollers, and when they are playing, girls are playing very, very contact plays together and have these bruises on their body, and they are proud of those. So she makes very three-dimensional paintings out of these things. Riikka is this is quite large image. It's like 2.5 meters wide, and it's really three-dimensional, coming out of the canvas like 0.5 meter or 30 centimeters. So, yeah, there are some images I just rolled through. also, when we're talking about contemporary art, all those phenomena that are important to us, like a life, like a birth and death, they are visible in art. And this is Toniar Toivonen. He's a very young artist and making this. So this is a print. No, it's not a print. It's a brass, and there are really original substances of dead cow and a fetus of a cow, and it's been washed several times, and he has made a very beautiful technique. So it's very kind of sublime when you see this image or this huge painting in space, and bringing these natural processes as a contents of contemporary art. Yeah, these are some of the works. Also, one of the pieces I like a lot. It's this. Of course, in the Nordic countries, also here in Russia, people make landscape paintings of works that are talking about landscapes. So this is one of the recent interpretation of the landscape. It's really a landscape machine, but there's this raya, this kind of electronic, so it's moving very fast, and it's almost like a view that you see from the window of the train. So it's a very this type of thing. Now I like to go and go to our to this one specific thing, to proceed and this Hello World exhibition, so you can have probably an understanding of how we operate in national, international, global way, and giving a context to some new phenomenon, what's happening in contemporary art. Art exhibitions are exhibitions that we do every 4th, every 5th year, and it fills the whole museum, 5 floors. And in this exhibition, which now will open, we have decided the theme, or it was my kind of initiative. I like to bring this digital culture, digital revolution, what's happening in our society, and see how artists are taking part of that. So I see that we all of us are using our mobile devices as a kind of extensions of our daily life and bodies, and can't be separate too long time from them, and also managing our social relations and building new communities in different social platforms. And I'm really kind of interested in what happens in art, and how artists are dealing. They are always a little bit ahead, kind of, and very curious about what's happening inside this area, and how they can take advantages out of it, or how they can misuse the technology and make their own inventions. And so there will be a kind of a showcasing millennials, artists born from 80s till 2000, and who are kind of in a way native internet users. Of course, there are some 3-generation artists. The oldest is born in end of 60s, and it's really interesting that how these devices, not as on technological point of view only, but what are the psychological effects and the affects that we make with all our devices and in the social platforms, and how we create the communities and make these works. I can show some special things only now it has to do with our collections, and that's this online art commissions. So we have we opened a special platform in internet, so you can see it also here at the end of February, and start to look at that. Those works, part of them are interactive, so there is no original of what you see, other original that you see from your own device. It's a group of some 15 artists. Part of them will be more or less videos, part of them are more interactive, or there are a lot of different type of things. For example, one artist called Tom Rainio, he was gravitational, this wave. It was given now evidence of that to scientists, and they put the model of that on net, and he's using as a part of that as a starting point for his work. And then there are a lot of, for example, British artist Dave Blandy is using these iconic, very romantic landscapes as a starting point for his works, but these are like a digital renderings and manipulations where this lonely character is going through inside the landscape. Or also very playful ones with this, when this creature, this fox creature, which is kind of artist alter ego, Ed Vornieles is using that in a digital world. So he tried to bath or fall or climb, sit or sleep or swim, and it happens very, very funny little things in those films. He's making this very visible Charles Richardson, and we will also try in this exhibition to show. So there are all the equipments and technology, also manual tools, but also his iPhone that he's gluing to himself. But this is a rendering image; it's an empty inside. And he also will build us a huge installation where visitor can enter and see those things and figures, but also a very beautiful video piece inside of that. It's a very big challenge to us as an institution, also to show this online, offline thing. So artists are mainly online. They really like to. They have taken all the positions of what used to be with the museums or with the journalists or with the gallerists. So we were asking when we start making this Hello World exhibition, that so how can we bring something more to the artists who are totally native on digital side and building these things. Yeah, this is our museum back from inside. We hope that it will be this beautiful next summer when you are going to visit, probably with us, and showing this R17 exhibition. And here is something that you definitely would love to see: Factory of the Sun, and it will turn the movements of dance into the energy and to the light. So thank you so much for your patience, and I'm very open to the questions which you might have about the museum world, about the collections, about the contemporary art life in Finland, life in Finland in general, whatever you like to make your questions.
Спасибо, господин Ханова. Я думаю, что мы давайте так сделаем. У нас, собственно, есть выставка, кроме самой лекции сегодняшней, поэтому мы, наверное, сейчас перейдем туда, на выставку, ну и там же можно будет желающим вопросы задать. А вам еще раз большое спасибо. Спасибо.
Yes. Thank you.